What is a humanitarian? A humanitarian is a person who seeks to promote human welfare, works to eliminate suffering, respects the dignity of all people. A humanitarian is selfless, generous, compassionate, kind. A humanitarian aims to make other people's lives better. The Humanitarian of the Year award has been presented for the last 21 years to individuals, couples, families, and organizations that share the true spirit of humanitarianism across Central Ohio and beyond. Welcome to the American Red Cross 2018 Humanitarian of the Year Luncheon.
Please welcome our host for the program, the Emmy Award-winning anchor of NBC4 News, Colleen Marshall.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the American Red Cross Humanitarian of the Year Award, where we're honoring a very special man today. I'm so proud to be part of this presentation, and I also want to tell you how much I admire the American Red Cross and what they've done, not only here, of course, but all around the world. I've been a reporter for a long time. I've never been to a fire or a flood or a disaster that the American Red Cross didn't beat me there. They have quite the record, and this organization in Central Ohio has been an incredible resource and support system. The Red Cross is the world's largest humanitarian network. Our outstanding chapter here in Central Ohio carries the mission of preventing and alleviating suffering every day through its programs and services. What better organization than to present a humanitarian award? Now, I have been warned to make people hold their applause because they have an electrical current running under here and they're going to shock me if I don't keep the program going. So I have a few announcements for you. We're welcoming some of our past recipients. They'll be listed on the screen, and we're delighted that some of them are with us today. Two members of the 2009 Humanitarian Award recipient, the Ingram family, Aaron Shannon and James Richardson. We're welcoming the 2012 recipients, Larry and Donna James. Colonel James Camp of the Ohio Air National Guard, representing the 2013 Humanitarian recipient, the Ohio National Guard. And the 2016 recipient, nationwide, is represented by Kurt Walker, President and COO of Nationwide Financial, and Alan Demers, Vice President of Claims Innovation. Today's honoree, of course, is Dr. Arthur Bing. He has promoted health, hope, and healing in his career in the community and around the world. Let's meet the Humanitarian of the Year through video, Dr. Arthur Bing.
My career here in the USA started with Riverside Methodist Hospital. They hired me as an intern when I was still in Indonesia. And when I came from Indonesia to here, I was basically leaving that country to come over here as an immigrant.
He literally started over here with nothing, just the shoes on his feet. And he worked so hard, had to do his residency again, and build his life and his practice back here again.
I came here straight from Indonesia, and then within a day or two, I had to work as an intern. And then I went through a general surgery residency, and after that, a plastic surgery residency. So after 6 years, I finally was able to really practice as a physician here in Ohio.
I've known Dr. Bing for almost 35 years. He was a fixture at Riverside, he's a leader at Riverside, he was head of plastic surgery at Riverside, so our paths just crossed through his role and leadership at Riverside.
I met Dr. Bing when I was an intern at Riverside Hospital, and he had so many patients in one of the floors up there, I think it was number 7, that we used to call it King Bing Wing. But I remember taking care of many, many patients, and the whole corridor were all his patients. And he would come in and see all of his patients with me. He connected with each patient and cared about each person.
I was a resident in plastic surgery at Ohio State from 1987 to 1989. And Dr. Bing was one of the faculty members who taught me plastic surgery. I think the thing I remember about Dr. Bing that I learned from him, which he probably didn't intend to teach me, but just a diligent, patient-centered mindset and how he took care of the patients.
We needed kind of a portal for cancer care at Ohio Health, and the building across from Riverside became that designated portal.
I always thought that there was a place for Riverside to do a cancer center because they do excellent nursing care. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. Can you believe it? And then boom, 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 it started, and they made the cancer center. And then they were going to put my name on it. I said, you don't have to. Well, it's an example for the community, and we want to honor you.
Dr. Bing is humble, he's compassionate, and he's a real servant leader. His whole life was about health and educating his patients on better health and the hope that he would give his patients in their healing process, which is so fitting that those are the words that describe him so well.
Dr. Bing gave me, early on in my career, a picture of the best of what plastic surgery should be like.
He remembers what got him here, and he's given back.
Columbus was an excellent community for families to start with. It's a wonderful city. Luckily, I was able to be here. We're here almost 50 years. We came here in 1969, so I just can't believe that I was so lucky.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Ohio Health Foundation's Vice President for Philanthropy, Anita Latero.
Thank you. Dr. Arthur Bing was once described to me as truly a Renaissance man. In the 20-plus years that I have known him, this is certainly accurate. He has also been described by his surgical team as a Zen-like perfectionist, laser-focused on restoring his patients. Although now retired, his patients remain in awe of his restorative work. That we are here today to honor his humanitarian way of life is an honor for us all. So many things are of the utmost importance to him: education, the environment, wildlife, disaster relief, the arts. So many things grab his attention and result in his action. Such was the case that resulted in the Ohio Health Arthur G.H. Bing, M.D. Cancer Center at Riverside Methodist Hospital. One might ask, why would a plastic surgeon care about cancer? As with everything else in his life, this too had great meaning. An active member of Riverside's development board, Dr. Bing had heard several presentations from our oncology physician leaders about the need for organizing into one building the multiple services that our patients with cancer utilize. We were motivated to ease the burden of their finding their way to doctors and treatment appointments, meeting with their navigators, prosthetic fittings, etc. He listened intently, asked many probing questions, and studied the necessity and the plans. I will always remember the morning I received a call from him, first thing in the morning, following our meeting. Anita, or Anita. I want to help with this. I have my accountant in the room, and I want to get this campaign started with a leadership gift. Well, after figuratively jumping out of my seat and kind of dancing around my office, we talked more and worked out our plan. But the rest of this story is most important. Restorative plastic surgeons do a tremendous amount of work with cancer patients, as did Dr. Bing. But his story is more personal than that. Just a few years after coming to the United States, his wife Hetty was diagnosed with colon cancer. Not only was his wife successfully treated at Riverside, but their 2 young daughters were cared for by the wives of other residents as well. It was that experience that motivated his commitment to the Cancer Center. His gift, the largest single gift from an Ohio Health Riverside physician, led the philanthropic enthusiasm of others that have allowed for many patient programs and services to continue for many patients and families today. His devotion to his wife, our patients, as well as the multitude of humanitarian efforts is especially noteworthy and honorable. His name on the building is an inspiration for us all. It represents his gift of hope, health, and healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. We're going to be hearing more about Dr. Bing's community involvement just a little bit later. You know, sponsors are so important to this event or any event of this size. And you're going to see the names of the generous friends of the Red Cross on the screen. Again, hold your applause. I do not want to be shocked. The Red Cross is very grateful to Nationwide for being a 2018 presenting sponsor. We want to thank mission-level sponsor, the L. Brands Foundation. The Red Cross thanks the cross-level sponsors, SafeLight and Huntington. Thanks to the red-level sponsors, Ohio Health, the Robert Weiler Company, Value City Furniture, American Signature, Wolf Enterprises, and thanks to the white-level sponsors, Columbia Gas of Ohio, American Electric Power, Heartland Bank, Hexion, White Castle, and Worthington Industries. The names of the benefactors, patrons, heroes, and friends will be on the screens. All sponsors are listed in your program. And the American Red Cross honors a very special group of leaders with membership in what's known as the Tiffany Circle. It's named for the historic 1917 Tiffany stained glass windows at the Red Cross National Headquarters in Washington. Tiffany Circle members are generous, highly involved women who are passionate about the Red Cross mission. They have opportunities to engage not only locally, but at the national and even the international level for the Red Cross. Their names are on the screen. And Tiffany Circle Chair Sally Hughes and member Marilyn Demers have joined us here today. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give all the sponsors and the Tiffany Circle members a round of applause for their very generous support of the Red Cross. Now, in the opening, you heard a moving description of what a humanitarian is, and you're going to be seeing those words appearing on the screen. Oh my, that's big. The screen behind me. So now it's a chance for all of you to be compassionate and to show your humanitarian nature. We would like to give you a text to give option today to the Red Cross. This will be going on throughout the luncheon. So it's simple. You just text the word Red Cross, all one word, to 74121. That's 74121. And you'll receive a reply, and there will be a link on there that you can enter your credit card information and the amount you'd like to give. And when you give, your name and only your name will be appearing on the screen here today, because we do want to publicly thank you for your generous donation. Every dollar that you give today during this luncheon will be matched. Are you ready for this? Matched by the Nationwide Foundation. And they've told us they're going to match up to $5,000 today. So if we can raise that amount, we're going to have a $10,000 donation for the American Red Cross by the end of the day. Now, if your phone batteries are dead or you don't have a phone with you because you are still living in the 1950s, we have envelopes on your table as well, and you can donate, you can write a check or give us a donation, and somebody will come by, or you can drop it off after the luncheon today as you leave. So why should you give? If you have ever had anyone in your family who needed a blood donation, an emergency blood donation, you know why the importance of giving is so significant. In my own family, when I was a child, my dad was one of 11 children. My mom was one of 10. And my aunt on my father's side had a heart valve problem. She had 5 open heart surgeries. And back at the time that her surgeries started, we didn't have this Red Cross storage system the way that we have today. So every time she had to have surgery, which required a lot of blood, Everyone in my family knew their blood type. And if you had type O, you got in the car and you drove to Cleveland when my Aunt Patty was having surgery. That's how it worked. We had relatives that came from New Hampshire, from our home state of Pennsylvania. My dad matched her blood type. They knew I had her blood type, so if she had lived long enough, we all knew our blood type and how important it was to give. And my father, throughout the rest of his life, was a devoted donor to the American Red Cross because he knew the importance of having that blood ready for someone you love. So we're hoping you can help us keep the Red Cross going in all the humanitarian efforts they do around this country. So if you're already a Red Cross donor, thank you. Right now, every dollar means $2 to the Red Cross. So we're hoping that you can help us keep people alive. And take the time now to enjoy your lunch. Take the time to text and give. We really appreciate it. We'll be back shortly with this program and with our honoree, Dr. Bing. Let me remind you one more time, Red Cross, one word, to 74121. Please enjoy your lunch.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor Dr. Bing's involvement with Opera Columbus and his passion for opera, please welcome baritone Brian Hupp, accompanied by Barbara Sayre.
Vieni alla finestra, oh mio tesoro, vieni al consolare il pianto mio. Se neghi a me di dar qualche ristoro, avanti agli occhi tuoi morir voglio. Tu hai la bocca dolce più che miele, tu che zucchero porti in mezzo cuore. Non esser gioia mia come crudele, lasciati almen veder mio bell'amore.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. We want to give a round of applause to Brian Hupp and Barbara Sayre for that wonderful performance. Thank you so much, Brian. So, opera with your lunch. That was a surprise. Now, I noticed that many of you had your cell phones out, and I do want to let you know they have promised to double my salary today if I can get it up to $5,000. Now, they aren't paying me anything, but don't let that stop you. So can we get a total? Do we have a total? I do want to let you know while we're doing this that there is more than one way that your money will impact the Red Cross today. $20, just $20, provides a blanket, a meal, a snack, a comfort kit to one person. So what's a comfort kit? It contains the basic personal supplies someone would need in the aftermath of a disaster, like a toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, comb, washcloth, razor, shaving supplies. You know, these people many times are burned out of their homes or flooded out of their homes, and the Red Cross is there to provide them comfort and support. If you have ever been evacuated in a hurry with only the clothes on your back, maybe a pillowcase full of your treasured mementos that you were able to grab, a comfort kit would mean a lot. Now remember, Nationwide is going to match us up to $5,000 today. Oh, and we're up to $35.65 already, so that's great. Thank you all for your generous donations. Now, as you heard when our entertainment was introduced, our honoree, Dr. Arthur Bing, is an advocate and a supporter of so many organizations, including Opera Columbus. Throughout his career, Dr. Bing has been committed to the health of his patients and also to the health of the community. Take a look.
Dr. Bing is a champion. It's about celebrating art, celebrating not just the necessity, but as far as life needs, but also the heart needs.
So Dr. Bing has always been an advocate for our community, a servant leader that cares about Columbus, but also can tell the story from where he was born and raised and all the stories about his passion for people, but is also his passion for animals. So when I first met Dr. Bing, we talked about ways that we can save the wilds and increase our attendance. And he was always a person to say, let's never forget about conservation.
The zoo is for young and old. It's educational, it's environmental. I love the mission of the zoo and the wilds especially. And I believe in that research, and they're even researching the beetle, they're researching a salamander there. It's amazing. I always wanted that to be the prime goal.
He's driven to fix things that are broken, and this is what he does as a surgeon. Dr. Bing has traveled to several countries that Operation Smile serves, and it's a reflection, I think, of Dr. Bing's constant heart for service.
It's good. We try to repair as many cleft lips and palates as we can. I went to Peru initially, and then we went to Paraguay, Honduras. It's a great satisfaction to have that. A community really thrives also on what's going on there.
Dr. Bing is one of my spicy board members. He is so generous to us. Opera Columbus has had a history of the international vocal competition. It was called the Irma Cooper vocal competition, and she was a champion for young artists. And at one time, when the company was going through financial struggle, it became what I thought was an obvious choice to let that competition go to relieve some of the financial stress. And boy, Dr. Bing wasn't going to have any of that. He stepped up to endow the competition so that that conversation would never happen again.
Dr. Bing has also donated to the Ohio State Plastic Surgery Department a whole library of his own books. And all the residents and the attendings love to go in the library, the Bing Library in the Plastic Surgery Department at Ohio State.
We left Indonesia, and I didn't even think that we would be back. But then, when we came back about 10 years later, of course, we immediately went to the medical school where I used to teach, and my wife was also on the teaching staff. And we were just appalled at how the library had the same books that I had when I had left.
Dr. Bing was aware of textbooks and educational material, not terribly relevant to education here, but they were terribly relevant and helpful to people back in his home country.
So he's tried to provide books and educational materials to the medical school back in Indonesia, just as a project that he just has taken up on his own.
Dr. Bing is like the serious underdog and the champion for the underdog wherever you may find them, whether it be the arts or in other areas of the community. It's because he, inside, I think, is that person. And so, therefore, he will always champion them.
Please welcome CEO of the Ohio Buckeye region of the American Red Cross, Mary Lynn Foster.
Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to add my voice to those you've just heard from in praise of Dr. Arthur Bing's community service. He was a member of our Red Cross Chapter's Board of Directors, and he continues to support our efforts. Dr. Bing also contributes to the Measles and Rubella initiative undertaken by the American Red Cross along with our global partners. Since 2001, more than 2 billion children have been vaccinated, and deaths from measles have decreased by nearly 79%. The support of people like Dr. Bing and many of you enables the Red Cross to bring health, to bring hope, and to bring healing to our communities near and far. I joined the Red Cross a little over a year ago, and I'm very proud to work alongside our remarkable staff, our dedicated volunteers, and our generous donors. Again and again, our volunteers and staff wake up in the middle of the night to drive someplace they've never been, to help someone they've never met. Or they work through a snowstorm to deliver blood products to local hospitals to meet our patients' needs. Or they spend weekends installing free smoke alarms and sharing life-saving fire safety education with families. Our team is truly awe-inspiring. I've gone to the scene of our emergencies to be with those that we help serve. In fact, this past summer, I had the opportunity to spend 2 weeks following Hurricane Harvey, helping our neighbors in the South. And the impact of our American Red Cross has never been stronger. Last year, the Red Cross helped more than 600 families following a disaster such as home fires right here in central Ohio. We prepared nearly 1,400 children on what to do in the event of a disaster. We collected nearly 87,000 blood donations from volunteer donors. More than 1,400 times, we provided services to our military members, families, and veterans. And nearly 4,000 households in our communities are safer through fire safety education, free smoke alarm installation, and battery checks. All of this is possible due to the nearly 1,500 volunteers right here in Central Ohio who this past year provided more than 55,000 service hours. In retrospect, 2017 was an unprecedented year of disasters. In just 45 days, the Red Cross responded to 6 of the year's largest and most complex disasters. This included back-to-back hurricanes, Harvey, Irma, Maria, and Nate, the deadliest week of wildfires in California history, and unfortunately, the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history in Las Vegas. This year, the need for emergency shelter soared. The Red Cross provided twice as many overnight stays, food, and relief items as it did in the past 4 years combined. The Red Cross also mobilized 56,000 disaster workers, 92% of them are volunteers, to provide help in 45 states and 3 territories. This aid included opening 1,100 emergency shelters to provide 658,000 overnight stays, serving 13.6 million meals and snacks, distributing 7 million relief items, providing 267,000 health and mental health contacts, all while supporting 624,000 households with recovery assistance. From our Ohio Buckeye region, more than 480 staff and volunteers, 480, deployed to disaster sites and worked more than 50,000 hours to assist families facing enormous challenges and losses. But the true value of the American Red Cross is its mission, which is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of our volunteers and the generosity of our donors. The Red Cross is the world's largest humanitarian network. So I hope some of you will consider becoming a Red Cross volunteer, or perhaps recommend it to others. Help host a blood drive, help staff an event, donate at a telethon, or go to a disaster scene. There are so many ways to volunteer. We need you. Our volunteers truly are the hands and the heart of our American Red Cross. We also are longtime partners with officials and agencies in the city, county, and state. Together we work to prepare, prevent, and respond to all of those emergencies. And the Central Ohio Red Cross chapter is blessed to have a strong and dedicated board of directors. Our chair is Alan Demers of Nationwide, and our list of board members are up on the screen. I really want to thank each and every single one of you for your support and encouragement this past year through what was a truly challenging year. I also would like to acknowledge Kurt Walker from Nationwide, who serves on our American Red Cross Board of Governors. But thank you to all of our donors. Our programs and services are in great demand, and we can only provide them because of you. And we are inspired by your support. As Colleen explained, we've made it very easy for you to participate in our on-site quick campaign. I tried it out, and it works great. Thanks to the Nationwide Foundation, your gift is matched today up to $5,000 if you give here today. So pick up your phone, that's okay, or use an envelope from your table to support the Red Cross. It definitely is the right thing to do. And I've shared a lot of numbers with you today, but in closing, I want you to know that behind each number, there is a person who is displaced by a disaster, facing physical and emotional losses, wondering if their home will still be there. Behind every number, there are also compassionate Red Cross volunteers offering their hands and hearts to others. That's the most important thing that the Red Cross offers. A commitment to the health of our community and its citizens, reassuring that there is hope for their future and a start to the healing process. Thank you for being with us today.
In late August, Hurricane Harvey made landfall along the Texas coast. In early September, Hurricane Irma hit the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Florida. Before Harvey and Irma even landed, preparations were underway to save homes, businesses, and lives. The American Red Cross was there. Throughout our response to both of these major hurricanes, we have provided nearly 1 million overnight stays in more than 900 shelters across Texas and Florida. Our work continues today and will for months to come, and the American people have been unfailingly generous. Thousands of volunteers have left their homes and families to provide 24/7 support to those in need, providing food, water, comfort, and hope. Our partners have stepped up to support our work again and again. To this, we say thank you. Those affected will recover and rebuild. And to that we say, the American Red Cross stands with you. As long as it takes, we will be there.
Bless you guys.
We wanted to take just a few minutes to let you meet a couple of the men and a lady who make the Red Cross work. It cannot happen without thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of volunteer work. And we have with us today Gary Lehman, who works with the state of Ohio, retired from the Ohio Army National Guard after more than 22 years of service. Marie Van Stee is a psychiatric nurse at Ohio State. And Chris Marrero works for the Red Cross as a disaster program specialist. Now, I know each of you have spent a lot of time on the road, giving of your time, your energies, and certainly in your case, your professional background. Give us an idea of a little bit about what you do and why you do this for the American Red Cross. We'll start with you.
I started with the Red Cross about 2.5 years ago. I got into disaster management through the National Guard. And what I do here in Central Ohio is I'm a disaster action team leader. We call us DAT leads. And basically, when you get that call in the night, when there's been a fire, we respond within an hour to go out and give 48 to 72 hours of support to those people who have lost everything.
So you're basically on call, and you don't know when you're going to get that call or where you might be going to.
No, we hope we don't get the call that night. Every time you sign up, it's like, oh, God, don't let it be tonight. But sometimes it could be 2 or 3 times during a shift. Sometimes there's no calls. And that's actually the best, when nobody has faced a disaster.
Maria, I think it's interesting. You kind of waited till your kids were grown to take on this role, didn't you?
There was a friend I had worked with years ago whose wife worked for the Red Cross, and he had told me some of the things she'd done. And I thought, I'd like to do that, but my kids were so small, and I thought, I don't have the time to devote to it. So now all my kids are basically gone, except the youngest, but she's 24.
Yeah, they never leave.
No, they don't. They come back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought this was a perfect time, so I joined the Red Cross maybe about 1.5 years ago, I think, something like that. And I'd done a couple of other things, and then I got called to ask if I would go out to Harvey. And I thought, yeah, I could do that. My husband was like, no, I don't want you to leave. I go, yes, I am going. I told him. And the experience, I could, like just seeing the video and seeing the families, how happy they were, that's exactly how they were. They were so thankful for anything you did, even sitting there just holding their hand.
And you saw this as a volunteer, and you liked it so much you became an employee, is that right?
Yeah, I started in August of 2011 looking for an outlet to make an impact, and I think that's the important word. And one thing led to another. I never had the intention of having an office and becoming a staff person, but enjoyed the work so much and making the impact. And the best part of my day is working with the other community partners and the volunteers. I mean, what other place can you go to work every day where 9 out of 10 people that you're communicating with are there because they want to and not because they have to.
Because they want to be there and they want to give back. And Marie, you mentioned Hurricane Harvey. I think it's interesting, your background as a psychiatric nurse. Some of these disasters, you're dealing with people who have anxiety and PTSD, and what kinds of issues do you see when you're at a disaster site?
It was a lot of observation, seeing what's needed, and there was a little boy that was there that couldn't even be controlled in the shelter because he was just so out of control, and he had to go to school. They had a school set up where the kids in the shelter were able to go to the regular school, and they had asked me to speak to him because he was a problem in the school too. So I did a quick 5 to 10 minute assessment. I said, this is what needs to be done. He needs this, this, and this. And the school person that was there said, you did all that in just 5. I said, it's what I do. I said, I know what he needs. And from what I understand, he did well in school after that and did better in the shelter.
Yeah, it's an amazing, the fact that you can bring your background, and you also were in disaster relief this past year, weren't you?
Yes.
What were some of your experiences? What happens when you show up and you're in the midst of a disaster?
I deployed down to Hurricane Irma halfway through. I wasn't in the beginning, wasn't in the end, I was in the middle. And I deployed as a life safety asset protection, or they call them LSAP. And I landed in Orlando, and by the next morning I was in Fort Myers. And basically our job is to go around and make sure that people are safe in the shelters, both our own employees and the residents, and also to make sure our equipment is taken care of. So we got to see the big spectrum, and we even went out to where they were handing out client assistant cards. And sometimes when people have been standing outside for a couple of days, sometimes you have to help people adjust and to get used to what has just happened and trying to give them comfort. So.
And Chris, you were in Puerto Rico. We saw the news reports, of course, that Puerto Rico was just decimated by that storm. What kinds of things were you dealing with there that maybe you didn't expect?
Yeah, the way I sort of surmised the situation when I arrived on the island a month after the hurricane hit was that everything was broken but the spirit.
Wow.
When I was there, I was expecting to see the destruction that you see on the picture before you, but I was expecting to see people crying, and there was some of that, but the spirit wasn't broken.
Yeah.
So that was a very hopeful moment for me. There was a lot of things to make right, but the spirit was still there and alive on the island. So.
Yeah, it was incredible to see. And they are, people forget, they're still living this, aren't they? All these months later.
Not even today is all the power restored totally. So The other picture that you see here is we had to find alternate ways to do our laundry because there wasn't electric. So I was staying in a hostel at this time, and there was an old Vietnam vet who was also at the hostel. And I said, I'm smelling a little ripe. How do I fix that? And he said, well, if you've got a 5-gallon bucket and a plunger and a little bit of soap, you've got a washing machine. So that's what that is. And it worked. It really did.
And Marie, you mentioned that you had to convince your husband that you could go. I don't think people realize the sacrifices that they make, because you not only have to leave your family, you're using vacation days, aren't you?
Yes, because Ohio State doesn't reciprocate where you could just have the time off. So I had to use my vacation days in order to go.
Now, I know some employers do reciprocate. Before I let you go, each of you give me one thing you would like, someone who's thinking about volunteering, tell me one thing you would like to say to them, to say, this is for you.
If you have the opportunity to deploy, do it. You'll never forget it.
And Marie?
We are desperate for disaster mental health nurses. It's very rare to find any, so we need them badly. So if you can do that, please do that.
And Gary?
In the Red Cross, you can be from any background and still serve. There's something for you, and you never know the next person really what their background is, because there's a DAT lead that works with me who is a brain surgeon. So anybody in this room can actually be a Red Cross volunteer.
Thank you all. Can we give them a round of applause for what they're doing for the American Red Cross? Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We want to remind you that we are still doing our match to 74121, the Red Cross. We're going to take a look. As we know, Nationwide has offered to give us up to $5,000 if we can meet that today. I'm trying to double my zero salary, so we're hoping that we were able. Can you give me a figure? Oh, that's incredible. So incredible. Thank you so much. That really is amazing. Now we want to complete the portrait that we've been painting for you today of Dr. Bing. We're going to hear now from a colleague of Dr. Bing's on the Riverside Methodist Hospital Development Board, who was his patient many years ago. Take a look.
I met Dr. Bing back in 1990 as a 15-year-old. Upon my return home from my high school winter dance as a freshman, my mom and I were hit by a drunk driver head-on Riverside Drive. It was from that accident that I sustained several severe facial lacerations and became a patient of Dr. Bing. I will always remember he was a man of few words, and he always had this way of making quiet sounds to reassure you during a conversation, and he always had a large smile on his face. At every appointment, he had this notebook, and he would measure every scar, make notes, scribble notes that actually weren't legible to me at all, and made hand drawings of the progress of each scar. He took this fragile and scared 15-year-old, and he made me feel important and cared for, and really reassured me all along the way that everything was going to be okay. That day when I saw him sitting at the table at the board meeting, I ran up to him and I said, Dr. Bing, I was a patient of yours many years ago. I was 15, and I remember he grabbed my hand. I told him every detail, and he just stood there smiling and beaming. I sit beside him and see that he still presents the same qualities that he did so long ago as a medical doctor. And now as a philanthropist, he continues to support Ohio Health and everything that he is involved in to this day. Dr. Bing means a great deal to me. He brought so much healing to me when I was that 15-year-old girl. I have spent most of my adult life surrounded by the medical field. I have 2 special needs children, so I spent quite a lot of time at hospitals. And the whole medical world, there are many great doctors, but there are very few Dr. Bings. I appreciate every chance I have to see him at our meetings now on the development board, and I just sit there and look at him and think how many lives he has helped and how much healing he has brought to the many patients he had over his lifetime.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to ask you to help me welcome to the stage the family of and the 2018 Humanitarian of the Year, Dr. Arthur Bing. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love your hair. Hello. Hi, everyone. And now also, please welcome the chair of the Board of Directors of the American Red Cross of Central Ohio, Mr. Alan Demers.
Is that amazing video or what? It does not get any better than that. Thank you to our donors. I'm glad to see you all here this afternoon. This afternoon, you have met a few volunteers who provide humanitarian services to victims in disasters. The Red Cross relies on those volunteers to implement our mission. Your help is needed to accompany a firefighter as we install smoke alarms in homes where there are none. Your help is needed to welcome donors at a blood drive or to help deliver preparedness education to children and adults. We need your help at a shelter when there is a serious flood. I hope you or someone you may recommend will consider becoming a Red Cross volunteer. Thank you for your financial support. Most of what we do is provided free of charge, but we know it isn't free. Your contributions allow us to continue to serve our community. Now let me introduce Dr. Bing's family members who are here. His wife, Hetty Bing, his daughter, Susie Bing Edwards, and their granddaughter, Maggie Bing Edwards. When I first heard Dr. Bing's story, I connected with his statement that they were very lucky to have come to Columbus. My wife and I feel the same way about this community. And it is a better place because of the work of Dr. Arthur Bing. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce, on behalf of the American Red Cross of Central Ohio, the 2018 Humanitarian of the Year Award to Dr. Arthur Bing.
I've hardly any words, but I'm very honored to receive this recognition from the American Red Cross. And I want to thank the board and leadership of this chapter for this wonderful award. And I also want to thank the sponsors, especially nationwide, that I don't really know, but I see a lot of sponsors here, but I see a lot of friends here, so I'm flabbergasted. Looking at the list of previous recipients, I can't believe that I'm joining that group. I'm humbled to be in their company. Central Ohio does have a humanitarian spirit, and people care about the well-being of others and the quality of life for all. This community really means a lot to me and my wife. We feel blessed to have come here and made Columbus our home. My wife and I were practicing physicians in Indonesia, and both were on the medical faculty of the Pajajaran University in Bandung, which is in West Java. So my opportunities in Indonesia were limited, however, because of my Chinese descent. And so we decided to emigrate to America. Riverside Methodist Hospital offered me an internship in 1969, and this was the beginning of a wonderful journey. I was educated to become a plastic and reconstructive surgeon and practiced this for 40 years in Columbus. We became American citizens in 1975. I am grateful to the many people who enabled me to have such a good life, filled with satisfaction and joy. I retired in 2013 after 38 years in private practice at the age of 75. And you won't believe it, I'm an octogenarian now. And I also retired from being an assistant clinical professor at the Department of Plastic Surgery at OSU because I always believed that education of the younger generation is very important. I want to thank my colleagues and friends who said such nice things about me in the videos. I almost didn't recognize myself. Each of them and their organizations have done far more for me and my family, especially Riverside Methodist Hospital, of course, than I did for them. It had been a privilege to work for them. Thank you all for coming to this event. We are really here today because of the Red Cross. I do greatly admire the Red Cross. It is, in America, it's a totally private, non-governmental organization. It depends on thousands of volunteers who give their time and talent, and I appreciate them more than me just being on the board. But of course, I do something too for them, give them money too. But in many other countries, the Red Cross depends on the government, and that brings in a lot more politics and so in it. And I was trying to help the Red Cross in Indonesia, but I gave up on it because I don't like politics anymore. The American Red Cross depends on your financial report, the financial support from donors, so they can fulfill their humanitarian purposes. As we heard today, the Red Cross people helps people with the basics of food and shelter in an emergency, fires and natural disasters of all kinds. And they do so much more. They find volunteer donors, and that's volunteer donors that make possible the gift of life-saving blood. As you know, there are blood banks who pay people for giving blood. They also work with the military. Their educational programs teach life-saving skills to the public. So they are really an essential organization in our community and also around the world. When I was approached about this honor, I said that I wanted to be useful today. So, like I said, I'm repeating it again and again, we are here to support the Red Cross. But I appreciate that you all coming here for me. But this is what I ask from you. If you already have made your donation, I thank you and hope you will continue to support the American Red Cross. If you have not, it's still not too late. You can even do it on your smartphone now. Thank you for your humanitarian spirit, and thank you for sharing this occasion with my family and friends. Thank you.
Now, as we welcome her back to the stage, please join me in a warm thank you for Colleen Marshall and doing such a terrific job guiding us through the program. Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you. Wow, you guys did a really good job today with the donations, and we are so happy to be able to say that we met that match. I was told ahead of time, it's really difficult, we might not make the match, but you proved them wrong, so thank you so much for what you did for the Red Cross. I don't know if $6,865 we're up to, so that's really amazing. I hope you were inspired by what you heard today. I was certainly inspired by Dr. Bing. Sir, you live a humanitarian life. What an inspiration you are for this community. I know you don't like Indonesian politics. How are American politics doing for you right now? But thank you, and thank you to your lovely family for being with us today and for allowing us to share your life story. It's really inspiring. The Red Cross is inspired by your generosity, making our community stronger by volunteering. We are certainly inspired by the volunteers that you heard from today. Those are the people that keep this organization going. We want to thank all of you for being here for this annual celebration, and as we leave, please give one more round of applause to Dr. Bing and his family. Thank you all for being here.